us with the intro, because we're rolling.
All right. Hey guys, it is episode 10 of our Coaches Chat. We've done 10 of these, like 10 weeks. All right, we are going to talk about some great topics today. One, I'm so excited to introduce my women's small group personal training. We're going to talk about some mental health struggles and some of the tools, maybe the struggles that we experience and some of the tools that have helped us move through things that we've experienced, like through challenging times, navigating injuries, tweaks, any sort of setbacks in the gym, and three really great things that we can throw at you on how to lose weight, or especially fat loss. 2 easy ways to just kind of like jumpstart. And then the last one is how much your colon can waste, or how much waste your colon can hold.
It's mind-blowing.
Mind-blowing.
All right. Take us away. You want to tell us about your group here?
Yeah, absolutely. I know that it's really great to see that we're getting more and more expansion through the Coaches Chat. So this is more for like locally, if you guys are affiliated with Railroad CrossFit, you know of Railroad CrossFit, or the viewers out here, if you know somebody that can benefit from this. I'm really excited about expanding my outside of like group and personal training one-on-one to a small group of women, which anywhere from like 5 or 6 women on Tuesdays and Thursdays from 12 to 12:45. And it kind of started with like my circle of friends thinking like, you know, expressing that not feeling good in their bodies and maybe not happy with what they're looking at in the mirror. And then more and more women kind of saying that to me, and it hurts my heart because I've been there and I know the struggles that we can go through. So this is something that I can give back to the ladies on how to feel strong in their body, if they're not sure of what to do in the gym or intimidated of big groups or intimidated of the gym as a whole. This can be a little bit more intimate and a little bit more involved, where I can help them feel confident and meet their goals in this, again, small group personal training. So a little bit more of an intimate setting, and it just makes me so happy, and I'm so excited to do it. So I'm gonna put it in our Instagram and my Instagram on how to sign up if you yourself are looking for that avenue, or maybe one of you out there knows somebody that could benefit from it. I'm so excited.
It is exciting.
Yeah. I was gonna give you rapid questions next.
Okay.
Do you have any hidden talents?
I'm really good on a trampoline.
I was knew you were gonna say that. Like you do backflips and stuff?
Double.
You can do a double backflip?
And double front
No,
flip.
you can't.
I have.
You've done like double, like 1, 2?
Mm-hmm.
Holy moly!
Mm-hmm.
Do you enjoy trying new things or prefer sticking to what you know?
Me personally, I mean, this is, what are we talking about here? I probably would say I'm more of a routine person. Mm-hmm. Like I prefer what I know, although the other arena I'm working to expand on that in ways. Mm-hmm. What about you?
Just like you said, it depends on what we're talking about. I like routine, but I also get excited to try new things, like new foods, new experiences.
So do you mean the experiences that you want?
Yes. No, you don't know me. What's one thing on your bucket list?
What's one thing on my bucket list? This might sound strange, but when I heard that initially, I'm not one to like, I want to skydive or bungee jump or anything. I want to hit the Grand Canyon. Like that stuff doesn't juice me. It was like the first thing that kind of jumped out that maybe hit a chord was like, be a dad.
Aww, I love that.
What about for you?
As you were talking about that, I think that Shawn and I always talks about taking a train across country or into Canada.
Cool.
And it's something that when he started talking about it, I was like, yeah, that would be really amazing. Like somehow have a month off and have all expenses paid and not worry about a thing, and just like take a train, or probably a train across country, and just have these things like mapped out. And
can I see if you prefer that option one or option two? Toro comes and you guys have a traveling RV, so you have your own bathroom. Option two, right?
Even better. Even better.
Train, that could get a little sticky at times.
I know. Sticky like my shoulder.
Sticky like your shoulder. Yeah.
My shoulder, it's popping. You hear that?
We just shared your recent blog a blog you wrote in 2021, and I wonder if you wanted to elaborate on this with the viewers on the topic was PMS and performance. I thought, again, we just reshared that because it's such a valuable topic, which when you wrote that, you were like, I don't think this is something we're talking about enough. We did an interview a while back, you and I, and thought it was a great conversation. So what would you share or elaborate on for women training through that, maybe thoughts around that, experiences?
Yeah, it's so cool too. When you shared that, I saw a couple people comment on it, and even like repeat the first line, like it's here again. You know, like speaking with women here and outside of here, it's not comforting to know that everybody's experiencing it, but it's comforting to know that people have a space to talk about it now. Because I feel like growing up, for me at least, it was like a stigma, like you had to be hush hush about it. So it kind of like being a little bit more empowered now. Now when I see women come in here and they're like, I'm on my cycle and I don't know what kind of energy I'm gonna have today or strength I'm gonna have today, and it's like, however you feel, come in here, do your thing, and then them leaving and being like, I'm just so glad that like I feel so much better or what have you. But I think it's just like, for me, it's listening to the body. So if you come in and you're like, I'm gonna try, I'm gonna do my best, I just want to move, I want to sweat, cool. But I really do feel that there are days where I'm just like, nope, it's not here today. It's not here today. I need to rest. I need to be rested to like make sure the rest of my week feels good. So like probably then, when I was doing research, I remember saying like, moving is good, blood flow is good, and then now a little bit more, a couple of years later, it's more a base to base or a case to case for me. It would be like, if you feel good, awesome, move your body. If you don't feel good, listen to your body and like take a rest. The gym is always going to be there.
What things are different in your experience while on it versus while not on it?
I am so tired. I am so incredibly tired. Oh, is that what you're saying?
In relation to performance.
Oh,
in
okay,
relation
yeah.
to the gym.
So it's interesting. There are some days where I feel insanely strong, and then there are days where I just like, it's almost like a mental block for me. Like I don't have any sort of like desire or motivation to like push through it. We all have our off days where it's like, maybe I'm like, didn't get enough sleep, or work was kind of I had a day and I came in here and we can shut the brains off and push through it. This is different. It's like the brain fog kind of like gets pulled over my eyes, I think. But I've had a couple of ladies say it this week. They'll come in and they'll be like, I don't know how today's gonna go, and it's like, well, you're here. I'm glad you're here. Awesome. And do whatever feels right. And again, it's like experimenting. It's being like, oh, okay, that felt good. Great. I'm gonna move on to the other thing. And then on the other spectrum, it's like, I'm just gonna stay here today, and I'm gonna do this.
Yeah, and that's a great. My brain captures that and relates that to being a great mindset and philosophy for your training age increasing with your experience of what you're doing too. In the realm of, maybe today is a day where I go in and I move my body not to its maximum capacity, or I don't but but I know I'm moving the needle in doing the right thing for my body, for my mind, for my health, by doing that, and just some days back off more, you know, when it's right and when it's prescribed to push.
And it feels good to be able to share. And again, I remember, I'm going to share this. I've shared this several times, of a kind of a mind-blowing moment for me when you were like, because one of the things that obviously becomes deficient during that time is iron. And it was, you know, maybe not at the moment that you get your cycle and you're through it is when you bump up the iron, but a little bit before and a little bit after. And when you said that, I was like, that makes so much sense. And since doing that, I've done that for myself, and I've like been like, all right, I can like regulate that a little bit better. And then because one of the things that when you're deficient in iron, you could become a little bit more out of breath. So, and I experienced that. A lot of ladies that I spoke to experienced that. So being able to give that gift of like, hey, try this, you know, and maybe it's not particularly iron supplements, but like a little bit more spinach and like leafy greens and a little bit more of like red meat, or again, if you're maybe a vegetarian, just like paying attention a little bit more of what has higher iron content.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah, so thank you for that. When you said that, I was like,
blew the mind.
Right?
Yeah. Maybe before we go to the next one, just like a simple separation of understanding rep ranges and challenging loads that are going to elicit more strength adaptation, and rep ranges and challenging loads and rate of perceived exertion that's going to be more hypertrophy focused, which is building muscle. And those two can kind of have an intersection, which is great, but this might be a great platform to share so people can kind of grasp, because obviously we're just coming out of maybe at our gym a little bit of higher rep point where it's been a bit more hypertrophy focused, and that's intentional, and it plants a good foundation for what could be coming down the line. So sure.
Yeah, more hypertrophy, muscle. I'm sorry, I keep doing this. It just feels weird.
I thought you were raising your hand.
Muscle hypertrophy, muscle building, anywhere from like 12 plus reps, like the 12 to 20.
Even 8. I would say 8.
Okay.
8 to like the 15 plus with the right challenge.
Okay.
Where if it's I could get to 20 and do 10 more, that's super light. That's muscle endurance. If I'm hitting a challenging weight and by the 12th rep, I'm ready to put it down, I could do 1 or 2 more, you have found the sweet spot in that rep range. Could be 8, could be 10, could be 12, could be possibly up to like the 15. You know, yeah, there's a point for 20 as well. Like 20 rep back squats are amazing when you find the right challenging weight and that rep range, compound lift wise. So it's not just the singularity of the rep range, it's making sure that the rate of perceived exertion, the challenge is there, and that's something coaching people. I wonder if folks, because I looked around Monday, I had this thought, and I was curious, like who really Monday had a component that was a 10 rep max bent over row, really amazing for upper back development. And that was the first time I really can recall in a while lifting the weight I did for 10, and I probably could have done maybe 2 more, and I was like, whew, perfect challenge there. And when I kind of scanned out, the feeling I got looking out at the room was like, man, a lot of people played it safe. A lot of people like had a lot of potential, and just maybe they didn't, I don't know, for whatever their own reason. And
do you think it's because that is a movement that we don't really test high reps with?
Bent over row to me is a movement that typically will always do anywhere from 8 to 12 reps in, and that was 10, and we were actually doing higher like a couple weeks ago. So maybe the light, I think a misnomer people can make is lighter or higher reps can equal just only lighter weights. Where example today we did a 15 rep max squat, and I knew coming in, and I even texted my one friend Al, I'm like, hey, are you going to the 10? Because like we'll help push each other, and even working with Jeff Schneider, I knew where I wanted to go and to push my body, and what I'm capable of technique-wise and all that. And it was, for me, 80% of my one rep.
Whoa!
But to me, knowing that is really going to move the needle in strength, hypertrophy, everything. Glutes, quads, core, upper back, you name it. You know, because you're flirting with that line of like, yep. And when I got done, I probably could have done 5 more, so maybe there was a few more pounds on the table.
Wow.
You know, but again, going back to light or higher reps, you know, for this prescription, like, yeah, a set of 20 with the empty bar could be great for building muscle endurance if that's the adaptation. But that hypertrophy is finding the right challenge. And then the opposite is strength is challenging loads in like the, you know, 2 to maybe 6 rep range. You know, 5 is really the sweet spot. 3s and 5s are the sweet spot.
I was gonna say 2 to 5. I wanted to hear what you had to say, but
yeah, and a slippery slope to bring to this question or bring to this topic is, and I know being in this space, I've made this mistake, and I can see a lot of people doing this as well, is identifying strength within their one rep and planting the seed as a health and fitness coach, you know, in the fitness space, 12, 13 years, the understanding that a 1 rep max is a potential for that particular day and time that will always be on a sliding scale through many factors: sleep, eating, training consistency, you name it, hormones, like all this stuff. Where as we progress and get older, you know, mid-30s, mid-40s,
no.
The sweet spot, like even our is 3s and 5s for strength work. Our life class, we have a class specifically designated for the 55 and up. I will never program anything really less than 5 or 6 for them. They don't need anything less than that in terms of, again, with their bodies and the inherent risk ratio there, you know, and preserving muscle tissue with strength is important. So I think that's an important understanding to kind of share into the stratosphere of.
Yeah, I think it's funny because the evolution of like my time, like here, like over the 12 years, loved 1 rep maxes because, you know, as a newbie to like lifting.
Well, yeah, go to the emotional place. Why?
Feeling accomplished, like feeling like it was something that you could measure. You know what I mean? Like I felt like that you hit a 1 rep max, and then all of a sudden.
Is it relatively easy to do 1 repetition of something?
Of course it is. And then I was more of like, I love like 3s and 5s. I loved the 3s and 5s. That felt like, you know, that was like a true test of strength to me. But then now it's like, I love high reps. I remember we did like like 10s, like 3 sets of 10s, like 3 by 10s on front squat. Like those just made me feel, and the way my body changed looked such a different way.
That's the intersection of strength and muscle.
Yeah, so again, the evolution of time. I have major FOMO that I missed out on the last 4 weeks.
Even you mentioned like the pride, like I too, like I get the 1 rep being the glory because it's like, man, I'm stronger. And now that being so far in, it's like I'm so much more proud of like a 15 rep, a 5 by 5, you know, a heavy 5, like, whew, okay, cool. And that plus this little asterisk, moving it well, moving it like, and hitting all like the checks and balances, you know, never would you ever hear me say like, did I squat low enough? It's like, there's just no other way. It's like, I'm going to hit these points of performance, with the most optimal mechanics at the peak challenge, and that's the goal.
I can't remember if we talked about this on Coach's Chat or it was just a private discussion of you and I, but today, even it's Valentine's Day, making the like talking about, I didn't say at the 10 a.m. but talking about how if you have, the way you train is going to be the way that you test. Say maybe that's like the way to say it. Like if the last 4 weeks, which we've been in this high rep training cycle, if it's like you're consistently staying above parallel in your squat over and over and over again, and then you go today to test the 15, and you know, maybe you have somebody watching you a little bit differently, or you know, the coach comes around and you it's that much heavier and you can't get out of the bottom of squat. It's, well, you just trained a certain way for 4 weeks. Of course, when it comes out in, test time, it's going to be challenging. Just because you squatted, 100 pounds for 15 reps, for 15 reps, for 15 reps, and then, but you were squatting high, and then all of a sudden you're testing at, so.
And that's a training example. Here's a real life example. We're big on, as coaches, teaching people, like I coached a class last night, and there was a good amount of, we'll say, hinging or bending that was occurring within this workout. And I was emphasizing and communicating to my class, what matters to me here is your ability, tired, to make sure our back is in a straight position and we're dropping our hips here, and showed that. And you can use the training example. When I test, I'm gonna test more than likely how I train. So being in that position, if it's a max out, or I need to go pick up something heavy in real life, air conditioner, like making sure I get in the right position. A woman who's in her 60s shared with me this morning, and I thought this was the most real life, beautiful example, and I was so grateful that she shared this. She went to go see her father, and he was in the hospital, and I believe they were walking, maybe, I don't know the exact details of where they were walking, and she noticed that he looked a little faint and he was about to take a spill. And this woman is in her 60s and
70s, I think Barbara's 70.
Okay, close to 70s. And she was able to catch him, brace herself, absorb his weight, and make sure her body, what she said to me is, you'd be so proud of me. I had the right form. Like I made sure my body was in the right position to, this weightless, like, body that I had to be and I was like, wow, like, what were you thinking? And she's like, there wasn't even thought. So there was the repetition of trust in the body, and also the training that, like, that's its juice. Testing, cool, that'll happen in the training environment, but that was real. That was like, life is bringing you something. And if I train or I'm unprepared or I just go to what, it's like the inherent risk of hurting myself or not being able to do that.
I was just gonna say, or being like scared.
Scared, not trusting I could do it.
Not trusting that you could do it.
So that, holy cow, like, it was the universe saying, this is why it's so important.
A little side note on that, which I was like, Barbara, you've got some good genes. He's 100 and he lives by himself.
Even more incredible.
Isn't that so incredible?
And here's an even, little, because we're working nutrition. She's like, in a check-in, she's like, I gave him the protein first talk, like, I thought that was so cute, so cute. So
I want to share, because like things like that, I talk about my dad a lot, but he trained in here one-on-one, and then he walks every single day with some weights. And Sunday we went to breakfast, and there were these really high stairs, like very high and narrow stairs, but there was also a ramp. And so I was like, hey Dad, you want to go on the ramp? And he was like, no. He's like, no old man really for me. And I was just so impressed. He was like, I practice like not holding on. And he walked up the stairs, about 5 stairs, narrow, high, without holding on to the railing.
Fighting to keep his functional in his capacity.
Mm-hmm,
I love it.
He says that he'll do things like, he's like, whenever I get up from sitting, I try not to use my hands. And he was like, I try to, like get up and then like sit down the same
Squat.
way. And I was like, I know. So our circle of influence just keeps on going.
It's good. It's a good joy to pull in,
Yeah, absolutely.
Cool.
What do you want to talk about next? How much waste the colon holds?
Yeah, talk about the colon. So offline, we were having a discussion, us and a couple of the members, and you just were like, we're talking about how quick, you can lose water weight and things like that, and somehow the amount of waste you hold in your colon, and we thought it was like 5 pounds or something, but you want to enlighten everybody what it is?
It could be anywhere from 5 to 20 pounds
of waste.
Of waste, fecal matter in your colon. Whoa.
Yeah. Moving on. We're gonna go fat loss. You want
Yeah.
to go? Cool. Okay.
Because that's a good one, because it can, filter into like water and hydration and how important that is.
Absolutely. Here are the 2 laws of fat loss that, if not in place, could absolutely derail, slow, or actually counter any progress if fat loss is your goal, or even if it's the opposite goal to put on size or maintain anything in this realm. Okay. The first, very easy, and these are so easy, it's almost going to seem like no-brainers. It's the implementation and execution of them. The first one is hydration, and how much should we be hydrating per day? So at a bare minimum, it's 64 to 96 ounces for ordinary people. Now, if you're more active and you're exercising regularly, that might even be 100 plus ounces. And is this something I need to be religiously tracking? The easiest thing and advice we could give here, and I'll credit you, you got me this water, what would you call this?
Oh, like a water bottle.
Water bottle, shaker, whatever you want to label it, for Christmas. And it has a cool little story, like it's related to funds going to
The military.
Military,
Specifically the Air Force.
Air Force. So like it's a very thoughtful gift. Inside of the shaker, it says 20 ounces. So that gives me the metric, okay, like I know I'm gonna at least get 3 to 4 of these a day outside of my 2 to 3 jars of lemon water, which are about 20 ounces as well, plus a protein shake and things in here. Like I'm in good company, my pee is clear, like great. But something that you bring with you that you know the amount, and you have one right there, like it's probably the same size,
one,
right?
yep,
Yeah,
20
ounces. That's the easiest one. And if you don't hit that water goal consistently, you could actually gain weight. And we wrote a great blog on this on our website, rowcrossfit.com. And the easiest example here is being underhydrated. Your body will try to correct itself, and you'll likely end up overeating, making up for the deficits. So big moral of the story here is you can drink 64 to 96 ounces of water a day or work up to that. It doesn't cost you anything, and it's very simple to do. It's gonna be great for your organs, your skin, your hair, all the things that you need, exercise, flush waste out. So that's the first one. And the second one?
Sleep. And I think that's something that a lot of people don't take into consideration. And we've been doing, I've heard you say it and myself say it over and over about how it can affect performance. But with sleep, I was reading a bunch of things on it because I wanted to learn a little bit more.
Give them the metric.
Oh, sleep, 7 to 8 hours.
Mm-hmm.
7 to 8 hours of deep sleep, like being able to stay asleep. Of course, we get up for different reasons, but 7 to 8 hours is the goal. And even so, we talked about it too. If there's a night where there's a little bit of a shorter window, like maybe it's like 5 or 6 hours, trying to cycle in a little bit more sleep, within the week there. But the same thing with sleep is for cognitive brain health. One of the things that I read is that we have so many thoughts that we go throughout the day. Sleep is where we actually start to process them. So it's almost like a filing cabinet. So you're awake and you're getting all this information, and while you're sleeping, it actually kind of files. So it helps kind of fight dementia and fight any sort of cognitive brain dysfunction as we age. I thought that one was pretty interesting.
It's huge, yeah.
I know, right?
And then you pair with that, that's where all the repair is happening. So those of you who are active in exercise, that is your biggest return on investment, is the hormones and the repair process through sleep. And if we undersleep, you're hedging into that and cutting that down. One. Mm-hmm. Anything,
cortisol.
Yeah, cortisol, stress is going up. Anything less than that too, you're gonna have fluctuations with your hunger hormones, ghrelin and leptin. So the hunger hormone that you feel full is, and the hormone that has you hungry, they're gonna start to inverse their relationship. So you might find yourself eating more throughout the day, cravings and things like that. And that's not because of stuff within your day. It's, I need my sleep. Mm-hmm. It's super important. So those 2 basic things, and I'll even share real quick because you and I are notorious for this. We devote so much of our brain power and energy into serving and engaging with people all throughout the day. So I know both of us like to end our day at a certain time, mindless entertainment, and that might be in the form of the TV for an hour or two, and we'll notoriously fall asleep on the couch. And then you kind of get that broken sleep where you're like, okay, I fell asleep to the couch till 12, I go into bed and I can't fall asleep. And like, that's always the worst. So something that I've begun doing that's helpful for me is I will set an alarm to go to bed. And sometimes, like what's been beautiful about this, it's like, and I put like crickets now. So it's not like an intense alarm. It's like,
Yeah.
So sometimes it will be like, I'm watching TV and then it'll go off. I'm like, okay, and that's hard for me. Like, I don't like to put myself into bed.
Yeah.
Other times I have fallen asleep and then I have it on like, say, my chest. It'll just vibrate lightly with the crickets and I'm like, all right, I've already brushed my teeth. Like, I could just transition to bed and it's pretty seamless. Just gotta whistle the rose to come with me. So that's been really helpful.
Yeah, and you know, not a cold, but a chilly, dark room is best. Like, again, my husband Shawn and I fight back and forth about turning up the thermostat and turning it back down. I have to be cold during night, and I try to, when I go into bed, first, I'll sneak in, I'll put it down to 55.
Wow.
And it, like, cause that's the temperature I need. I need it, and I need to be dark.
That poor SOB.
But that's what
It's interesting. You know what's unique is merging two different people who share, whether it's temperatures, whether it's like my partner, her love language is touch, and it's like, I say this with the most love and compassion. Like, I don't want to.
You don't want to cuddle.
I don't want to, like, snuggle. Like, I want to be a mummy. I want to, like, well, actually the dog, but like, well, come on. And then also too, like, because of my shoulder too, like, I need to sleep on my back. Yeah. There'll be times I'll turn on my left shoulder, but like, I need to sleep on my back. And it's funny, the times I'll stay at her spot, she is like sprawled, taking like the entire bed, and then I feel like I have this crevice of blankets at the time of life. I hope she doesn't see this.
I know I have a good sleep when like you wake up and your blankets are just like perfectly like over and you're not tossing and turning, but it hits different when you wake up and you know that you had like a full like 7 or 8 hours of sleep for sure.
Yeah.
What else?
Got here.
Speaking of which, I drank so much water, I really have to pee.
This one might help. So if you're increasing your water, I know we're really focusing on it now as well, and you find yourself like, I have to wake up to pee, try the following. In research, I found that this can help that urine process. Put a small amount of sea salt, pink Himalayan salt, a small amount, not what you would do in the morning cocktail if you do that, a small amount in your last water that you drink before bed. So say it's 7 o'clock and I've had my dinner and this is like just some sip of water that I'm gonna have kind of as the ending part of the day, put a little bit of salt in that and see if that helps over time with waking up to have to pee.
Yeah, I try to stop like about an hour or so before, because I will get up like 2 or 3 times.
Yeah, that's a good one too. Is someone asked me this, Nina, who former nutrition client, she had asked me a long time ago, Shawn, should you stop eating 2 hours before bed? And at the time, I could eat, my personal experiences, I could eat up to an hour before bed and then like go to sleep and be fine. Mm-hmm. And I think that's obviously changed over time. I'll notice like the Super Bowl that just happened. I had eaten my dinner and the game was just going on. Then overtime, and I was like, okay, like I'm gonna have some blueberries and some pistachios. And obviously being up later, it pushed my ability to go back to sleep later. So I do think that it would be smart and it's beneficial to have a stopping point a few hours before bed, maybe up to 2 hours, to allow digestion so there's not all this energy going to your stomach and you can kind of down-regulate. That might mean I need to start moving things earlier today, because a lot of people in here, and as we're focusing on like, hey, protein and starting our day with protein, some folks won't even begin their eating process 10, 11 o'clock. So you have a smaller window.
Yep.
So it might push that back, and that's a process. So usually as it goes,
Yeah, and then the brain and the stomach are connected, right? So that's like why you get like dreams. I think one of the reasons why it keeps the brain activity going is that like when you have like certain things like sugar, which of course we try to eliminate as much as possible, especially in the evening time. But that's why you could have like the crazy dreams if you eat a little bit closer to bed.
Or maybe you're just crazy.
Could be crazy. Crazy. You ever have a dream and you wake up and you're like,
all the time. Or I've had a couple in the past 6 months, and I find this so fascinating. I'll have a dream, and there'll be certain people in those dreams, and it puts me emotionally in a weird place.
Mm-hmm.
Like waking up, like I say I had this dream, and then like I just feel, different,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm like, and it's weird because you were just dreaming.
mm-hmm.
And I don't need to let that be, something emotional, but I'll just feel what I feel.
Yeah, it's like, where did that come from?
Oh, deep layers underneath there, yeah. Maybe we'll end today's video. We talked offline about this great topic that might not get enough talk. And I know a lot of folks out there we all struggle in our own ways, mentally, emotionally, and we talked about, allowing ourselves to be vulnerable and maybe share into some of those struggles, share into what journeys of healing have looked like, to open a relatable conversation in this arena, that I think could be helpful.
Mm-hmm.
So take it away.
Just kidding. I was like, it's so funny. I was gonna be like, you know what? Hold that thought. I'm gonna go to the bathroom really quickly. Well, I think it's important, if you guys have, I would say like a career like we do, where you have to be on. I don't want to say have to be, where you are on, and it's a lot of like giving energy, giving space. Always making sure, like in here, it's like making sure people are safe, creating an experience, you know what I mean? It can, it takes a lot of you.
I don't even think that has to be that person's career. When you share that, I think of like a mom. I think of a dad. I think of someone who is caring for others, who is showing up for others, maybe sometimes suppressing what they're experiencing or feeling, for the greater good of family, friends, whatever this is, and their emotional being or whatever it is sometimes gets put on the back burner, or they kind of keep down. So I think there's relatability to like, okay, you're mentioning it as this is our chosen profession, and maybe some people are engaging with humans, but maybe some people are just parents, or they're really caring friends, or whatever it is. And I think it's a mirrored thing. And
I think you're absolutely right. Like good point to relate. Like we always have, everybody has that aspect, but I think what I've run into is like I could see that, and I used to be like this too, like completely suppressing it and like compartmentalizing it, but then not going back to it, and then not feeling it or moving through it, or moving past it, and I think like coming into this with you, and someone who always like continuously wants to like learn about people and learn about their thoughts and learning about their experiences and how to get better at it and how to give the gifts to other people, I think it's really important to take time for yourself, no matter what that is, to either decompress, move your body so that you can release some energy, but then also tend to like some of the challenges that you face. So like if it's a breakup or a loss of a job or going through grief or whatever it is, I think that sometimes like it could be there's stigma attached to it being like, nope, I'm just gonna forget about it. But I think that it's really important to like see it and do with it, like learn from it and move through it, and you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And how do you do that? Like, what's your best way of moving through things? Writing?
Yeah, if I back up a little bit before tools, I think something that I have struggled and really have struggled and still can and will, a couple of arenas of, really strong self-judgment, like I can be really hard on myself, and maybe that voice, whatever that voice is, might not, it could be harsh, it could be, um, it can carry a lot of weight to it that is heavy, So there's that. I think I just shared this with you and then another friend of ours. Not being great at self-forgiveness, so with that could come a lot of self-blame and guilt or any really challenging emotion. I think those two really jump out, and probably maybe roots of challenges around love and the safety of love, and that maybe from just some stuff from how I was raised, and like that's exactly how I was meant to be raised, and so at this stage of my life, I began what I would consider like maybe I don't know if self-help or like personal development, whatever the term you want to kind of use is really 2016, 2017 timeframe. And it's always evolved, and it evolved even to having, acquiring and looking into getting a coach. Some people that could be a therapist. Like I think that might be even like the next place I look is like maybe someone I could get in a physical space with across from.
Mm-hmm.
I know you've kind of done that route too before. It was a grief counselor.
Mm-hmm.
So that's been really helpful. I'm very curious. I'm very driven to learn and to learn about self and to learn about people. And some of the tools are it's a continued process of journaling, of writing and reading and applying and assessing, communicating, becoming better at how to communicate those things, realizing not only am I a flawed human, we're all flawed humans, and everybody's doing the best they can with what they have, and I'm continuing that journey. I think something that really kind of hit me recently that I'll share, that has really catapulted this journey for me to go more in, is nothing really material was making me feel or bringing me the thing I thought it would bring me. It could be you hit this economic goal, you hit this travel goal, you do this thing, like whatever it is, even stuff competitively like in my past, nothing was juicing me the way that you believe that it will. Like, oh, it's good, this when I do this is when I feel. And that kind of scared me initially. Like, I don't feel anything, nothing's changed. Like I did this thing and it's the same. And where I'm at now with all of that is, I'm in this distinction learning of like, okay, well, that's a part of the human experience, right? Is this kind of physical world, this external material sort of thing, and those are more driven from like the ego, and those really never had really magnified the experience that I really, felt like would be powerful and meaningful. The journey, the other side of that is maybe more of the growth journey of self, of the journey with self, like being very transparent, like loving yourself, loving myself first, and getting good at that. And I don't think I've been great in that arena. And I think with what we do too, like you can go help and heal people, but man, like inside, I'm struggling. So taking that and saying like, okay, like, I love helping people, and it's even to share kind of tangent wise, I have this unique skill of like discernment and noticing. And I think that probably came from childhood of like, I had to get really good at noticing to, I don't know, I haven't unpacked that.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's that superpower, that skill, it's beautiful. Like I can notice something, you know, and kind of whether it's in a person, in a tire, or just like, I don't know, maybe that the ordinary person just doesn't see, I don't know. But it probably stems from something earlier that I had to do. I would imagine I maybe had to do like protectively or what, I don't know, whatever. So it's a continued process for me, talking about it more. I was one just like you. What we do, I compartmentalize. I could go through some really heavy stuff and I will sweep that under the rug, come in with a big smile and lead my team and lead my people to the best that I can, that maybe no one would know. You know me pretty well, like you'll probably know. And that I found over time isn't the healthiest for me.
Mm-hmm.
So as a male, I think there can be this attachment of like, that vulnerability is weakness, and that like if you communicate about it, like all these things that weren't true for me. And I think being okay with like, you know, starting to open that conversation, and it's really been powerful. It's been powerful to allow myself to share my truth, to speak my truth, to heal relationships in places of my life. My dad is an ongoing one, you know, previous relationships that I've had, and again, work to give that version of myself who maybe made mistakes or was wrong or whatever it is, like just compassion and meet that version with love versus this really brutal, you know, cruelty and harshness that I think just stays with you. And in the simplest terms, like this book I'm reading, it's like that anger is like holding onto a hot rock, getting ready to throw it, but you're being burnt, and it's like you just put the rock down. So for me, it's a continued process, and my process is like every morning, one of the first things I do, in an ideal world, it's like I'd spend as much time, like Sundays I spend a lot of time, like 7 hours, but on work weeks, it's like Monday through Friday, it's like maybe it's like an hour to 90 minutes reading, writing, speaking, listening to something, like all of that combined, and then even declaring and writing like how I'm going to choose to show up and be today. And my best self at the end of the day like assesses and tries to track the wins, because I'm not historically good at like recognizing all the beauty, like Julie when she left today and what she said. I want to capture and be like, wow, like feel that, versus capturing all the heaviness and the tough stuff and like the this isn't enough, you're not enough, you know, just like that stuff. So it's a rewiring, you know, because I think whether it's the life we're living in or what, and all of that, I think I don't want to lean that way. I want to start to be more empowered and heal and grow, and you know, so it's ongoing.
Yeah, and I'm sure like just so many people will take away just from that, you know, just like I think I don't know if this is the actual what has happened, but I felt like when I grew up, like you weren't not allowed to talk about it, but like we didn't talk about it more. And I feel like now we're in this culture where it is okay to talk about it, and then there's resources, and then there's more involvement from like personal development and like encouragement on self-care and self-love. And I think that's like so special, because again, I felt like I don't know about you, but like I said, I felt like I grew up in a time like we didn't talk about stuff. Like you felt a certain way, it was just kind of like, you know, and maybe that was just the environment that I grew up in. So I'm the same as you, you know, the like moving past a little bit of guilt, forgiving, you know, oneself, and communicating about it more. And now I think I've become an over communicator.
Yeah, I mean, you know, I mean, it's funny you share that. There's I think it can be so easy for us to judge ourselves and be harsh. And I can be like, if I speak for myself, like I can do that so easy, and yet have such grace for another.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Yep. Mm-hmm.
where I want to get really good at, in a really loving way, like being my biggest fan and not being so critical or judgmental and loving the edges. Yeah, you can be this and this and this, and loving the gifts and honoring those and continually improving and all that stuff too. And life, we have this one go, and it's like, okay, like I don't want to just kind of fit into a box for, okay, like you said, like maybe this is how we weren't and this and that. It's like, well, what do I want? What do I want? And I know, like, going back to like the material stuff and whatever, it's like just more love, and that starts inside, and you can only give what you have. So it's like, okay, like there's that, doing good in the world, and what does that look like? I just listened to a thing over the weekend, and I was telling Sydney about it, and this woman was speaking, and I thought it was so beautiful. I like, for me to retain to, like, I'll listen and I have to write and then read it back, and like that's my highest comprehension. But she shared these principles that she'll go back to when she's either challenged, and she was relating it to a relationship. And like the first one was beautiful. So it's like, you can have this, like, and I wrote them in my phone, so I have my phone's recording right now, but like the first one was like, say there's something challenging happening. And I used this with my partner when we got into a disagreement over the weekend. And I thought this is you doing the work. And the first part was like, what is the most loving thing you can do right now? An example was like, this person, my partner, came at me and shared their, disappointment in something. And you can feel that flood of what your normal defense or whatever, like da-da-da, and like read it, paused, processed. And I went to that question first. Not what, like, I need to be right, or I need to, whatever, and to say, hold on a second. What is the most loving thing I can do right now? And that version of me that showed up from that, it was like beautiful what came out of it, and so just having some stuff to call upon too. And I think that to me is this continued journey of growth, and I'm sure it will look different 1 year from now. It's looked different. Like, I'm not the same person, and hopefully I'm not the same person tomorrow. So to me, that's this continued evolution, and I want people close to me, call it high frequency, whatever it is, who are similar like that. And I want to have love for everybody in their own way versus, maybe not, because, that's not their thing, So, yeah, growth.
Yeah, I love this. What a special episode 10. I don't have anything to share because I'm absorbing what you just said, and I think that was so beautiful.
Oh, well, thank you.
You're welcome. And then we're gonna have, oh my gosh, a different, different end 180 maybe next time for Coaches Chat 11. And no Mila Rose here, but that's okay.
Oh, I missed her, yeah. I had a doctor's appointment this morning, so no Rosie. She'll be back next week.
Wonderful.
Okay.
I have that piece so bad.